Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our webinar today about securing the new normal. As many of you have heard and seen and may be living, the restrictions of what we are allowed to do are slowly lifting, which is great and very exciting. But at the same time, it starts bringing up new questions, like how am I going to be able to protect my clients and my employees when we're in multiple locations and working throughout the days as much as we are? So today we're going to cover that as well as how we can help you kind of tackle these questions and have a better offering available to make sure it's a nice smooth transition for everyone as we go back to a new normal. Before we get started, I'll go through a few housekeeping rules. Feel free to chat with us throughout this webinar. We'll answer questions as they pop up. So as you have them, please feel free to put them in the Q&A or chat box. I'll be keeping an eye on both of them. We're also recording this webinar, so after this, within the next 24 to 48 hours, a recording will be available. So now, it is my honor to introduce to you today's speaker, Mark Balaguer. He's been working in the security industry for over 10 years now, and is personally one of my favorite go-tos when I have my security questions come up. So Mark, it is my pleasure to hand it over to you as we enter today's webinar.
Great. Thanks a lot, Erin. Really appreciate it. And thank you for everyone for joining today. So today, as Erin mentioned, we're going to be covering what we're calling securing the new normal as we come out of this pandemic, hopefully for good. And we want to talk about three of the services that MSP should be offering their clients, as well as some of the technologies that Barracuda offers to help you to be able to do that. So I think we're all aware of the current situation, something we never thought we would have to face these last few weeks, even extending into months in a lot of places. All of our lives have really kind of been turned upside down. And so we really want to think about what does that mean for you, your business, and your customers. We've seen a lot of coronavirus-related spearfishing attacks, and it's just kind of grown exponentially. So really, scamming and brand impersonations have probably been the most common type of attacks we've seen related to the pandemic. Many of those scams that we're looking at are ploys to sell fake coronavirus cures or fake masks, or asking for investments in fake companies that are claiming to be developing vaccines or some new virus-related technology. Also, really unfortunate is we've seen a lot of scams in the form of donation requests for stuff like fake charities, or even impersonating real charities, and asking for money that's actually going to go into that scammer's account. So really important to make sure, if you are looking to do something positive and make a financial contribution, just do a little bit of research yourself and make sure that that money is going to the actual organization, and you're not just clicking a link and kind of blindly following an email, just because it's, like I said, really unfortunate that we've seen all of this happening, people trying to take advantage of this really troublesome situation. And just kind of to follow up with that, just the sheer number of spearfishing attacks we've seen has just skyrocketed, over 650% increase since the end of February. Numbers are still coming in for April, but through March, we saw over 10,000 different coronavirus-related spearfishing attacks. But just to put that in perspective, there was about 1,100 in February, and then just 137 in January. And so we just see that kind of continue to grow, and this is especially difficult with people not being in the office, wanting to find out more information, so they're probably more likely to be clicking links on emails that say updated statistics, when in fact that might be a link to a malicious website or some kind of ransomware, something like that. So really, really scary that we're seeing this, but again, just want to make sure that you and your customers are aware of the situation, and you can have solutions to help them get through this. So shifting gears a little bit, we want to talk about how the pandemic has affected businesses. And really, we're seeing a handful of things there. So as countries start to reopen, there's really diverse work locations. So some people are now working in office, some are still required to be at home. Some are in very unstructured environments. Maybe they didn't have a room to have as their home office. So there's kids and pets and all sorts of other distractions, as well as the remaining uncertainty. So having that anxiety, constantly seeking information, wanting to open emails that say that they're from a health organization or something like that, leads to more susceptibility to these types of threats. So the thing for MSPs to be aware of is that you're now going to be required to manage two different environments. So you need to manage that home office environment for the user as well as their work environment, but you're going to be utilizing your own same resources. And just to point out, Barracuda is actually living with you. We had to transfer over 1,500 people to work from home situations, so we totally understand it's hard to do those normal day-to-day activities like exercising or grocery shopping or feel connected. And so we're seeing these be kind of universal ideas of things you need to pay attention to from a personal side. And then on the technical aspect of it, virtual communication, training everyone how to use something like Zoom or WebEx or whatever that sharing technology is, but making sure that that's also secure. Document sharing, educating users about secure ways to transfer information and share information. So in the past, maybe there was a shared drive in the office and everyone just saved stuff there and people could easily collaborate, where now people might think, oh, I'll just use a Dropbox account or something like that, when in fact, that might not be secure enough or might be out of compliance and could cause you issues down the road. So you just want to make sure everyone's educated, and so you don't have to deal with any kind of shadow IT situations going on where people are finding their own solutions that might not be secure and again leave you vulnerable. And then of course I kind of alluded to it earlier. Basically now you've got to do two different jobs. So you've got to manage the home environment, you've got to manage the work environment, and then on top of that, we're seeing this additional threat level because of attackers trying to capitalize on the situation. And so just a lot going on. So you really need to maximize and automate as much as possible to stay effective and keep everyone secure. So what we've seen is, again, three areas that you need to keep secure. Those are going to be technology, people, and you also make sure that businesses continue to run. So again, not only protecting the IT infrastructure of customers, but you also need to protect the employees and make sure that they can continue to operate and they stay in business. So in order to do that, we're seeing two main changes. So some businesses are going to have that mix of office workers and remote workers, and businesses are going to depend more on their MSPs to ensure that IT infrastructure is secured and dependable as they're working to rebuild the actual business that they're in. So these changes are going to require MSPs to kind of extend their service portfolio to things like secured anywhere access for customers, end users. So making sure that the firewall can accept VPNs properly and the right people have access to the right information. People can work from any location. So even in the situation if something like this happens again, you're going to have the services to be prepared for it. You also want to make sure that you're protecting those endpoints. So when employees are in the office, obviously they're going to fall under that firewall policy. But when they're somewhere else at home or working from a remote location, maybe when they get to travel again, working from hell, you still want to make sure that that endpoint device is being protected, its antivirus is up to date, it's been patched, and that web traffic is being filtered so that they're not able to connect to malicious sites and being protected from malware, things like that. And then the last piece we're seeing is you want to make sure that you have a help desk available. So even when workers are remote, you can still get remote access to their device to help troubleshoot, make sure that they're all up to date, and support users even when you can't physically be there. So what we've built is a security checklist, and this is going to be different for each of your customers, but you just want to talk about what their business needs are and then craft that solution around it. But some of the really important ones that we've seen are making sure that you have a firewall with flexible VPN access. So does that user need to have that same experience like they're in the office, always on the VPN? Do they maybe only need a connection to a certain resource a certain time of day? Just making sure that that's set up properly so that the right users get the right access. Also, endpoint protection, making sure that they're protected from virus with an antivirus. The new files are being scanned, so they're not going to get hit with some zero-day ransomware type of attack, and that endpoint is just being kept up to date as far as patching and latest updates. Obviously, you want to make sure that that email is secured, making sure that if for some reason your email service does go down, you have a way to allow users to still send and receive email so that business can continue running. Also want to make sure that I kind of said it before, protection off network. So again, working from home, they're not under that corporate firewall anymore. So how are we going to protect those users who are taking their laptops home and making sure, again, that they get protection from malicious sites and files that are on the internet. And then I think one of the most important ones that people often overlook, making sure that the end users are aware of the new attacks that are going on and aware of why the process is in place or why they need to store things in this way or utilize this resource or this technology. Want to prevent that shadow IT and prevent any vulnerabilities from being out there. But also, hopefully turning the human firewall, that weakest link, from a liability into an asset. So once they're more aware of the situation, what they should be looking for, they can start proactively reporting things to IT and saying, hey, this email looks suspicious, check it out, and then really helping you do your job and secure everyone. And then, of course, making sure everyone can continue to be up and running by providing them support, even if they're not physically there, being able to have a remote connection to that device, do some troubleshooting wherever that user might be. So now we'll talk a little bit about how Barracuda MSP can help. And Barracuda is involved in quite a few different aspects of security, very security-focused company. And we'll talk about a handful of products in depth today. But just from a high level, you want to make sure that you have a remote monitoring and management solution. You want to make sure that you're securing your email, you're securing your network, and if something does come up, you're able to recover quickly by providing backups available very, very quickly so that a customer can get back up and running if they face a ransomware or some kind of corruption with their data. They can get back up very, very quickly. So just to jump in a little bit more depth about managed workplace, really, really important, like I said before, to automate everything, make sure that you can get updates and reports about different aspects of the networks and present those to your customers to show them value, saying, hey, we patched all this, or we protected you from these threats, stuff like that. And again, automating the patching so that everyone's up to date. They're not going to be vulnerable to different things. Making sure that you have integration with all sorts of different devices. So again, you can monitor whatever that customer needs. You can get the right alerts at the right time. Really, really extend your footprint, your visibility, and extend what you can do with that same amount of workforce to be effective in helping your customers. The firewall, very, very important, obviously, to protect your network environment. It's also the termination point for VPNs, making sure that those users can get connected. We have a really nice capability to go ahead and have a template base. So once you have a baseline configuration for your customer, you can basically roll out that same configuration to other customers with just a few tweaks so that their IPs are the same, or there's maybe a slight need in policy change for a separate customer, but you're not starting from scratch each time. And then advanced threat protection, in my opinion, the most important thing to have active and running in your environment. The idea here is that you don't want anything to get onto your network or in your environment that you're not aware of its behavior. So if we see something coming through or someone's trying to download a file, we're not sure what its behavior is. We're not just going to let that on the network. We want to go ahead and send that to our advanced threat protection cloud, make sure it's scanned, really detonate that file. And once we understand what that file does, we're able to write a signature for it or associate it with a known signature. And we push that information to our Barracuda databases worldwide, and in turn push that out to all of our Barracuda security devices worldwide. So that's something that's really powerful about Barracuda, is that, again, I mentioned we're involved in so many aspects of security. You're now going to have these updates propagate also to our email security devices, our endpoint security devices, our other web security devices. So now that if someone gets an email with that same file attached that we just figured out was a brand new zero-day ransomware attack, it's going to be blocked and protect that environment. So very, very nimble in our technology so that we're immediately recognizing these threats and protecting all these different threat services. The other thing you want to do is make sure that you're able to centralize the management. So the firewall can do that with something we call the control center, being able to manage multiple firewalls from a single pane of glass, make changes to multiple firewalls at the same time. Really, really powerful. So you don't have to go into each individual firewall to make a change every time it happens. You can kind of do it all at once. And then some nice reporting included as well. And of course, just regulating the traffic, making sure that the right traffic is going down the right link, or if a user has, or a customer has multiple uplinks, they can make sure that that traffic is going down the proper link or failing over to the proper link, just making sure that customer is maximizing their bandwidth and always going to stay up and running. And then, of course, something else that I really like to mention on the bottom part here is that if you're not a firewall expert, we do offer a managed service. So now you can go ahead and leverage Barracuda to help you create a firewall offering for your clients. But really, all we need from you is to have a discussion about that client, what their needs are, what their security policy is, And at that point, we'll go ahead and build a configuration for them. We can ship them the firewall, and all they'll need to do is plug it in and connect it to the internet. At that point, our services team is going to be doing all the management, monitoring, and remediation 24/7. So you've really got yourself a SOC to go ahead and make sure that that customer is always up and running, doing any remediation from attacks. And then, of course, we'll provide you with reports about anything going on that you can pass along to your customers saying, hey, this is what we've protected you with, or looks like we might need to tweak these rules a little bit, seeing some interesting traffic patterns here, stuff like that. So you can just really demonstrate your value without having to become a firewall expert and deal with the complications of getting this all set up. So a really great way to get involved with your customers very, very quickly, especially with that remote access VPN connectivity without having to have a lot of investment in time and learning on your end. Barracuda Content Shield. This is really designed to provide protection both on and off the network. The standard Content Shield is going to create a single policy for every device on a network. And then what we have called Content Shield Plus is going to offer some additional flexibility, mainly the capability to make individual policies for specific users and groups, as well as providing protection off of network that's going to enforce those policies as well. So now someone can take their laptop to a coffee shop or take their laptop home, as is the case these days, and they're still going to have that same content enforcement. So they're not going to be allowed to visit malicious sites or not be allowed to visit sites that are out of policy, but at the same time have files scanned as they're coming in and provide that protection. So they're not plugging in a USB key that they found on the sidewalk and seeing what happens. Those files are going to be scanned, and we're going to protect all those threats that way. So just want to make sure that you can provide that protection both on and off the network for those endpoint devices and keep those users protected. I'll shift gears a little bit to email. And this is just kind of a high level of what we can offer in email defense. And start at the bottom here, you see that's going to be your email service, Office 365 or Microsoft 365 in a lot of cases these days. And then on top of that, your gateway defense and your resiliency. Those are kind of things I feel most people understand. You definitely need a spam filter. You definitely need something to protect you from those viruses getting on the network. We have an email security service that can do all of that. But really want to get into some more kind of advanced features and capabilities that might be overlooked, but are really crucial to overlaying on top of that standard email security service to protect you from threats. So the first one I want to talk about here is managed phish line. This is security awareness training. First off, very, very important for a lot of customers because it is required in a lot of different standards for compliance. So making sure that customers are going through simulations to understand new threats and new types of attacks and making sure that they're staying compliant. So the idea here is that we're offering it as a managed service. So it's going to be very, very easy for you to provide that service for your customers, and we'll deliver you the reporting that you can pass to them, and let them know maybe some different users should be involved in some more training. Maybe they're clicking on everything, or maybe they're falling susceptible to these simulated phishing attacks, whatever that might be. And you can educate them and let them know where they might need some additional help. But the other goal here is to make sure that we can turn those liabilities into an asset. So maybe the first time around the campaign is run, they accidentally click on an email, they get directed to a training site that says, hey, this is what you should have looked for. You shouldn't have clicked on this email because of X, Y, and Z. So now they're aware of that, and in the future, they'll be smarter about it and can hopefully maybe even report some emails that are suspicious. The really big value here, though, as a managed service is that it's taking a load of creating these campaigns off of the MSP. So if you are managing 2,000 people in an enterprise company, yeah, no problem. Once a month, you build your campaign, you send it out, you see what happens, you get the report, and then you move forward from there. Well, an MSP could still be managing 2,000 different people, except that's going to be broken up between maybe 20 different MSPs. So now you got to build 20 different campaigns every month, send that out, and it just becomes a really time-consuming task. Someone could even have that as their entire job, and so we don't want that to be the case. So again, all you need to do is provide us with contact information of your customers who need to be enrolled in this service or want to be enrolled in this service, emails, and then we can go ahead and take that and run with it, and again, provide you with reporting. So a really good way to make sure that you're keeping your customers compliant, as well as educating them about new threats and what they should look out for. And the other piece we want to take a look at is Sentinel. Really, really powerful artificial intelligence, really designed to protect against spear phishing. So spear phishing is the idea that attackers are going to use social media and other resources to figure out things about an organization that's going to allow them to attack them and gain information or money out of them without having to necessarily provide a malicious link or get them to download a file, anything like that. So these are really dangerous attacks because they're all, in most cases, going to pass through a traditional security service because they're going to be text-based. So maybe an attacker sees that a company is hosting a conference through social media, through Facebook or Instagram or whatever that might be, and then they go on LinkedIn and figure out who's going to be at that conference, who the executives are, who the head of marketing is, or who accounts payable is, whoever that person might be. And then they decide when that conference is happening, they send an email spoofing the person in, say, accounts payable to say, hey, we're just at the airport. We forgot we need a couple $1,000s in gift cards. If you could send them to this hotel before we get there, that would be great. Sorry we're in such a rush, but really appreciate the help. And so signed executive. And so whoever that person in accounts payable is likely to see that and say, oh yeah, they are going to that conference, and yeah, we definitely want to make this a good experience for everyone and look good. So they go ahead and send those gift cards, and by the time everyone figures out what happens, the attacker's already picked up the gift cards and is off on a shopping spree. And so the trouble with that is the email didn't have that payload. It was just a simple line of text that's just going to get through because there's nothing inherently malicious about it that's going to match a signature or a behavior that we're going to see. And so we don't want that to happen to go through. So what Sentinel does is it uses over 40 different attributes of users' email, stuff like what email accounts they use, what time of day emails are sent, how they sign their emails, all these different things to understand what this normal behavior is. And you can see here, trained on over 2.5 million mailboxes. So our false positive rate is about 1 in 100,000 right now. So trained up pretty well to be able to detect these. And so we want to make sure that anything that's like an anomaly is going to be prevented from getting into that user's inbox. So a couple things, we can delete it, we could move it to their junk mail, but definitely is going to need another review. And so always encourage this as a general security policy. If you're suspicious about an email, make a phone call, go ahead and double check with that person. Hey, is this actually what happened? Is this what you want? So you don't want a situation where someone comes in and sends a wire transfer request and all of a sudden a bunch of money has gone from the company. Another thing that Sentinel can do is demark. So basically the idea with demark is to prevent brand fraud and protect your reputation. So making sure that you are who you say you are and that the email has not been tampered with since it's left its original source. So this is very important to make sure that no one else is sending out malicious emails with your brand, your domain, your logo on there and doing malicious things, because it can really tarnish your reputation. And then the other thing that Sentinel can do that's really, really nice is it can keep an eye on logins that might be suspicious. So it ties right into the O365 API. So we have a very tight partnership with Microsoft in this. So we're actually seeing where these successful logins are coming from. So if you see a login, successful username, successful password, but at a location that doesn't make sense, this user's never logged in from there, or has never traveled there, never worked there, there's no reason for that to happen. So it's a real good indication that that account is probably being compromised. So we want to alert you right away so you can go in and make those changes. So again, providing some additional protection so that hopefully you can get in, do that remediation before the attacker has a chance to do anything malicious, all because you understood this is a login that clearly has been compromised, but that attacker is successfully in the account. So a lot of really powerful things based on artificial intelligence and really, really tight integration with 365 that make it a very, very powerful tool as additional overlay of protection for spear phishing on top of your email security service. So I think that's all I had today, but I really appreciate everyone's time, and I know there's a couple things we can talk about moving forward, but I'll turn it over to Erin.
Yes, thank you, Mark. Actually, before we get to that, we've had a couple questions come in, so we'll cover those, and then we'll touch into what to do next. So one of them was, we recently transitioned our customers to Office 365. What does Barracuda have that, do the Barracuda products secure that, or is it additional? Is it on top? Like, how does it work within the Office 365 environment?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So we have, like I said, a very, very tight partnership with Microsoft to the point that we've shared roadmaps and had product development teams working together. But absolutely, as a service, we're integrated with them I have a colleague who makes the analogy big truck, little truck. So Microsoft's big truck is email, data, all of that things, and their little truck is security, whereas ours is kind of the opposite. So our security is our main focus, and then handling the data. So we have a very tight integration with them, providing a lot of some advanced technologies, especially related to security, that if you were to go through Microsoft are going to be quite a bit more expensive, top tier enterprise licensing, stuff like that, that we're going to provide kind of universally to all the customers. But like I said, a very tight integration with Microsoft. So yeah, all these services are going to integrate right in there.
Awesome. Also, someone was wondering, how is managed fish line priced? Is it per physical person or physical email address? Do you know?
Yeah, so that's going to be per person in the organization, and then you just provide their email address. So you can actually do it so you don't have to do every person in the organization. Maybe we do recommend that you do every person in the organization. It's just safer that way, so everyone's educated. But maybe if you only wanted to do it to like an executive team or something like that, or someone who handles a lot of emails, maybe administrators, that's something you could do. But yeah, you just have to input the email and go from there.
Awesome.
And I know there are not to get too far into it, but I know there's discounts for volume. But yeah, if you reach out to your sales representative, they have all the info on that. I'm an engineer, so they don't let me make any pricing decisions, but I know there's a lot of different programs and packages that are built around that.
Fantastic. And along those lines with managed fish line, how often would I receive the reports from the campaigns that are run?
The campaigns are run monthly.
Perfect. And then our last question is, for Sentinel, once again, like managed fish line, does it have to go on every account, or are we able to pick and choose kind of who gets that protection?
So Sentinel is for everyone. It's for the entire domain. But again, that's just going to be by number of warm bodies. So if you have aliases or distribution lists or anything like that, that's all going to be covered. We just bill it out by number of warm bodies in the organization.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. That is it for our questions for today. Yes, so moving forward, if you want to learn more about these products and some other products we have available, feel free to go to our products detail page. We're also very excited that we worked with our core side of the business and our latest ebook about the newest 13 email threats to be aware of, especially around COVID-19 and entering the new normal. This is a great ebook to look through and learn about. We'd also like to invite all of you to join us next Thursday, May 21st, for Global MSP Day, where we are partnering with CompTIA to celebrate you, the MSP. So go ahead and join in our fun. We'll be social. We'll have some webinars going on in the afternoon with some members from CompTIA, as well as within our executive team, to kind of show you and talk you through what's going to happen in the second half of the year. So we hope to see you there. But thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We greatly appreciate it. And feel free to reach out with any additional questions you may have.
Thank you.